let's kick this off. Why don't you tell us who you are, where we're at, and what you're doing right now?
I'm Amos Goldbaum. We're on the Virginia Garden Walk, and I'm painting a mural. The mural is 12 panels. It goes the stretch of the garden walk here, and in the center panel, which is actually the one I'm doing now, this is going to be a painting of Bernal Hill, and then it kind of fans out from there in either direction. So there's going to be these historic shots on either side of the Virginia Garden Walk of this retaining wall that I'm painting right now. This is looked in 1927, and then from there it kind of like fans out, looking south from Bernal Hill in that direction, and looking north from Bernal Hill towards downtown in this direction, and a lot of the neighboring hills in between. Yeah, most of my murals focus on San Francisco and our cityscapes. I grew up here and live here, and I think it's just an amazing city to draw and paint. There's so many different views, history, architecture. In this one, I'm incorporating a lot of flora, like native plants, and also just like the wide variety of plants that grow here. These are like aloes and agaves and different succulents, which are like super sculptural and fun to draw. Kind of a portrait of the neighborhood and the surrounding area, but I'm also trying to incorporate a lot of plants because it's in this garden, and kind of show how like a lot of times when you're walking around the city, you get these little like glimpses of the city through the foliage. And so I'm putting a lot of the plants kind of in the foreground with the cityscape in the background. Before I do a mural, I'll go out to the area. A lot of times it's a place I'm familiar with, but even so, I'll go there and take a bunch of photos from different vantage points. I have a big painter's extension pole that I can zip tie my phone to and take like high angle shots. And then I'll go home and do research, finding more photos, either like photos that other people have taken, or a lot of times real estate photos will have drone shots of the area. I'll go on some of the archives and find historic photos on OpenSF History or the public library website. That's where I found these photos of this neighborhood. And then I'll take all those photos and start stitching them together in Photoshop to make a collage. And that'll end up being the reference that I'll work from. My murals are all line drawings. When I do murals, they're like just huge versions of the pen drawings that I do in my sketchbook, and I make an effort to retain that sense of simplicity and immediacy that you have from when you're just like making a drawing in a sketchbook or on site, you know, when you just take out your book and start drawing. Even though these are way more planned, I still kind of want to retain that level of simplicity. Just when I was a kid, like I always drew in lines, and I think a lot of it came from reading comics like Tintin and Calvin and Hobbes. Those two, and like The Simpsons, Looney Tunes, they all draw on this like super clear, concise line work that's kind of its own language that I feel like is super easily understood by people. It's kind of, you know, the reason why IKEA furniture manuals are drawn with lines. It's because it's like you can't not understand it. But yeah, there's this kind of visual language that I was like immediately drawn to. I would copy those characters in my sketchbooks and make up other characters, and then also draw from life in that style. And I just found it was like the easiest way to describe things quickly, concisely, but also like with as much or as little detail as you want. I try to do a different palette for every mural, or kind of mix it up. I usually like to choose two contrasting colors, either a dark background and a light color for the lines, or vice versa. For this one, I haven't really done anything like this. Each panel is done in a different color. So the first panel is this blue color, and then they're gonna gradually like transition to green, yellow, and then finish with orange. So because this garden walk is so long and part of it is concealed from the street, I kind of wanted to like use that sense of journey and take the viewer on a little trip through color also, and have the color change slowly as they walk, but by the time they get to the other end, it'll be in the opposite color on the color spectrum. So they'll have traveled from blue to orange, maybe without even realizing it, although they'll probably realize it, I guess.
Seeing an Amos piece in a business or a shop kind of is like a seal of approval in my mind. Do you have anything kind of in your mind like that? Like the types of people who ask you, or the places you're asked to be?
Yeah, I mean, I like I'm always honored when someone wants me to draw or paint on their walls and add my artwork to their space, like for private clients, like businesses or offices. I think it's kind of self-selecting people who have seen my work and reach out to me, like maybe they like this style, and that kind of carries over. I've done some pieces at, like, for instance, the coffee shop in the Mission, 2 of his locations. So sometimes it's like becomes part of their identity or their brand. I did a few at Wise Sons several years ago and did their mugs and stuff. So yeah, it's really fun working with like a wide variety of clients. Definitely like small businesses, restaurants, cafes, but also offices for bigger companies, and then stuff like this, which I really love for neighborhood groups, community groups, public walls that are funded through the city. In 2021, I was asked to do a mural on the actual street as part of the Slow Sanchez. They had turned a street into a pedestrian street basically during the pandemic, and they wanted a way to like mark it as being different than just a regular street. They asked me to create a mural on the asphalt, which I had never done. It was also very large. It was like, I think 200 feet by 30 feet and had to be read from the ground, from afar. So it came with a lot of challenges, but it was also like a really fun and rewarding project by nature of being on the street. I had a ton of visitors and just people were always interested in what was happening. It was very difficult physically, just kind of spatially, to do something horizontal instead of vertical. It was hard on my back, but it was really fun, and it definitely gave me a lot of ideas, like if I was ever to do it again, how to make the process easier. It's starting to fade a little bit now, so hopefully I'll get a chance to revamp it at some point.
Casey over on Mastodon heard I was talking to you, and he says he missed following you. He left Twitter sometime last year. What are your thoughts on social media right now as an artist?
Yeah, I think as an artist, you're expected to post constantly and kind of be a little content machine, just like everyone else. And sometimes that's been like tough for me. Just I've been working on a mural all day and then realized I didn't take any photos, or now I feel like I'm expected to post a lot of videos, so I haven't taken any videos. And so sometimes it's stressful having to both focus on the task at hand and then also document it. But at the same time, I think it's like, I have really enjoyed making time-lapse videos and letting people see my process more. And I think people get a kick out of it, and it is just another way to share. So I think it's really cool, actually. Like, someone who doesn't get a chance to visit it can still see the mural and then also see it being made, which is, a moment in time. So overall, it's a mixed bag. I use Instagram a lot, and that's where I post a lot of like process videos, and Twitter still, I guess, even though it seems like a lot of the people who used to be there aren't there anymore. Should probably join TikTok at some point, but I've just been putting it off. But yeah, I think social media is kind of a blessing and a curse for everyone, but for artists especially. I think, it's always a balance between sharing your work and then also just taking time to focus on the artwork and not just think about it as like a piece of content to be shared and liked and all that. With that being said, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. My website is amosgoldbaum.com. I have all my murals on there. I have a map I made of them. If you wanted to make a day of it, you could go and find them all, the interior ones, the exterior ones. I also have close to 20 years of my artwork just archived on there. So if you're really bored, you could spend a while looking through that. But yeah, that's probably the best way to see all of my work in one place.